Welcome to 2 cents short of a dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your host. That's Mo Tiz, and I'm Rue. I want to jump straight into it. Something that I saw in the news that was a bit bizarre. They said they're working on Teofimo Lopez versus Jerron Boots Ennis. Teo, who hasn't fought at welterweight before, but has previously called out people at welterweight. So if he goes up and fights Boots, what would you make of that situation, and who would look good versus who would look bad in that situation?
I think Jerron has more to lose in this situation, right? Because let's say that fight actually happens, which I was kind of surprised when I first heard the news, but apparently they're in negotiations now. But let's say they actually do fight, which more than likely seems to be the case. If Boots win, there's more of an excuse on Teo's side, meaning he was the smaller guy, he was moving up in weight, whereas if Teo happens to win, Teo can kind of enter a legendary status, right? Or not even legendary, but he could definitely enter that S tier class.
It'll be big. It's a big win, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a huge win, and it'll also kind of add on to his allure as when he's kind of the underdog, he always rises to the occasion with Lomachenko, with Josh Taylor. And even, let's say, for instance, if he makes the fight even tough for Jerron Ennis, I think people are probably going to come out the woodwork and say, oh, Jerron is still not as good as, especially coming off of his last performance. I think right now people are just a bit hard on Jerron and just not understanding this is just how boxing works, right? Not everyone is going to look good in every one of their performances. But I think it's Jerron got more to lose in this situation.
Yeah. And Teo, I mean, Boots being a big 147 to fight Teo, who's never fought at 147. I think Teo got a lot of guts to do that. You know what I mean? But like you said, maybe it is that stigma that I always rise to the occasion. Every time my back's against the wall, boom, I pop out and I show out. You know what I mean? So that would be crazy. But I would imagine it would have to be an Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia kind of showing for Boots. And like Teo does have that athleticism and that pop, but man, that size and moving up to a class you never fought at before, I can't see, just right now personally, I can't see Teo winning that fight. I can't see him winning that fight. But what if Boots, let's say, doesn't stop Teo? It's going to add to the criticism of Boots, right? Which that doesn't necessarily mean it's just, because what if Teo runs the whole fight? But do you think that will be the deciding factor, forcing Boots to move up? Like, all right, I'm not messing with 147 no more if he doesn't stop Teo?
No, I don't think so. I think he's still going to stay at 147, especially since he wants to unify that division. And I think he just needs to, put his boots on, pull his bootstraps on, and really just not care about what people say, right? Given it, because what happened with Michael Garcia and Errol Spence? Errol Spence dominated Michael Garcia, and people still would say, "Oh, you didn't stop him. He was a smaller man." People still complaining. So if Jerron doesn't stop, Teofimo, then he doesn't stop Teofimo. I'm more concerned about, how he wins, right? Like and then at the end of the day, I think Teofimo is a special talent, right? So he is going to kind of make it competitive in the early rounds, but if he doesn't stop us, if he dominates Teo, then I don't see no issue. So
yeah. And do you think Teo is willing to make this move? Is it, I don't want to say clout chasing, that's the wrong word, but is it like for shock factor, or do you think it's out of frustration not being able to solidify fights with the likes of Devin Haney's, according to Bob Arum?
See, I don't know, man. It's smoke and mirrors when it comes to Teo. I really don't know. I was a bit skeptical when they mentioned Boots. I was like, nah, I don't think he's gonna go up there and fight Boots. I don't think Teo's really like that. But apparently they're in negotiations. So I don't know. Like, to me, I'm still kind of skeptical until it actually gets announced and it's actually happening. I don't know, man. I'll probably have to agree with what you're saying. Like, just maybe it's just for shock value to kind of boost his stock, to kind of lead him into his next fight. But I don't know. I'll have to see it to believe it, because I'm kind of surprised Teo's taking his path.
Yeah. And two last questions for you. Like, so for Teo's case, if he weren't, say he can't get the Haney fight, can't get the Boots fight, is there another big fight out there for him that you see possibly at 140 that we're missing right now that would probably make more sense than going up to 47 to chase a Boots Ennis?
I mean, the biggest fight at 140 is Devin Haney, and that's if Devin Haney decides to stay at 140. I know Devin Haney mentioned that he's just doing catch weights. You know,
what about the Richardson Hitchens fight? Would you like that after his last win?
I don't think that's a big fight, though. I don't think there's any fighter at 140 that's going to make it a big fight. It'll be an interesting fight, right? There are fights to be made at 140, but I don't see none of the fighters at 140 right now giving Teo like a big fight, you know?
Yeah. And my second question, which is my last question, if Boots is taking this, and let's say he comes out and says it's a stay busy fight, do you think, because I can't think of why else he would fight Teofimo other than a stay busy fight or like a cash fight, he has a name. Would you say, all right, you stay busy against Teo, but you don't fight a guy like Barrios? Or is it just those guys not willing to fight Boots, so take whatever he can get?
Yeah, I think it has more to do with the negotiations with them, right? Because they have belts. And it seems like Teo was the one that chased after Boots. I don't see Barrios chasing after Boots. I don't see Stanionis chasing after Boots. And I definitely don't see Brian Norman Jr. chasing after Boots. I think that's the biggest difference here. You know, at the end of the day, I'll be okay with this fight because it is a big fight, two big names. But you know, ultimately after that, I would want, you know, Boots to start making these fights happen, you know, especially if you want to stay at 147 and unify. And if you're claiming that's what you want to do, you got to put the pressure on these other guys, you know.